Please be good. Please be good. Please be good. I'm so excited. Okay, here we go.
Hello, everyone. Salutations and welcome to our glorious Ashes of Creation June development update.
Okay.
We hope that everyone is well and safe and been having a wonderful month. We've got a 3-day weekend
How is
coming
her
up.
room so
We're
clean?
excited.
No, it's 4th of July.
Wait, really?
Yeah, here in the US. So
Is it?
we're excited about that. And of course, we're excited to show off a little bit of combat. So if you don't know us,
shit.
I'm Margaret Crone, our community marketing lead. And with me, as
Wow.
always, is the one, the only Stephen Sharif, aka our creative
It's Monday,
director.
yeah. That's me,
and
not you.
These beautiful blooms behind him, the orchids. The
Oh,
orchids.
yeah, that's right.
How the fuck does everybody have flowers that grow
The
except me?
orchids.
Can I see that?
Yeah, they can see that.
Nice.
And of course, today we will be going over our quick reminders, and then we'll be showing off something you all have been anticipating, which
Okay,
is
here we
Oh
go.
my
small slice of
God.
Here we go,
combat,
I'm ready.
But this will be our basic weapon attack update. We'll be also showcasing some character arts updates and doing our studio update and then Q&A. We're doing
All
stuff
right.
in a little different order because we want to get straight to the juicy stuff because we know
Yes,
That's good.
we have
Are
taken your
excited.
feedback into our run of show, and Margaret has changed things around so we
Great.
get to the meat faster.
All right, let's get the meat.
All right, and of course, for that, we have our next dev discussion, which
Mm-hmm.
is going to be about. I mean, it was already up.
Gear
already.
color
It's about
customization?
Gear color customization.
Okay.
So we asked you, how do you feel about dyeing your gear? How far would you like the system to go? Do you prefer a full color range that allows for some odd color combinations, or more limited one that preserves visual fidelity and realism? So if you haven't
That's a
gone
really
over
hard
to our
question.
forums, given us feedback on that, please
Yeah,
do.
I don't know.
Because we would like that. And then, of course, our next one will be on world map discovery.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that at all.
Process your feedback on that front.
There's been some changes on the world
Mm-hmm.
map front, but I think we'll save that for a future update. But there has been some significant changes,
Yes.
just to tease that.
I mean, that's going to be a fun update. I can't wait
Yes.
to I can't wait to showcase that. And of course, we have our comment of the day, or of the month, I should say. And if you would like your comment to be chosen, all you have to do is when we upload this to YouTube, go over there, leave us a comment. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you are subscribed, we will be picking a random subscriber to be showcased. And for this one, we've got Realm SLB, who wants to know, or who noted, love this idea and impact of seasons in the economy. However, I feel that 1 week real time per season is way
That's
too
what I
short.
said.
It should be like a month
that-
in my eyes.
I said this,
Otherwise,
yeah.
This vision of people carrying things around
Holy
won't really
shit.
happen. People will just stock up a lot for the winter, and that's it.
Yeah, they're not going to
So
give a
that's an
shit.
interesting comment, and actually just want to touch on it real quick. The weather systems, the season systems, that's going to be a obvious point of testing for Alpha 2. of
That
course.
makes
You know,
sense,
we're
yeah.
going to play around with the different cycles and times, and how they impact the economy, the rotation of resources, the movement of goods. Like all of those things play into the purpose, one of the purposes of having seasonal systems.
Yeah.
So that is something
They can't
that
be
we are
too
gonna play
transient.
with during our Alpha 2 testing, and we'll land on what feels both most comfortable, is visually appealing, but also has the impact on the economy that we desire to see on the design side.
Okay, great.
Yes, so of course, thank you all for your feedback. We've got a ton of seasonal feedback, and we'll be compiling some of those things and sharing them with our development team. So we really super duper appreciate all of that. And of course, just a quick reminder that our opulent negotiations,
I like this
cosmetics
one.
swap over will be happening July 13th
This
at
shit,
11 a.m.
oh
Pacific.
my God, that's a
Reminder
mount?
that all of the variants made from these sets you'll see in game as NPCs, creatures, buildings, etc. And
That's
we're actually
badass.
showcasing some variants today if you don't follow us super closely.
Y'all see that?
For those of you who do, you might have already seen some of those, but we've made some updates to the imagery. And with that, I think we can go into our basic weapon attack combat update. If you want to
Yes.
set some preface
I would
to the
like
video.
to, yes, I'd like to preface the video.
Okay.
So, I made this decision. What was 3 weeks ago? I stepped into.
Three or four weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I stepped in and I talked with Margaret.
We had another topic originally planned for this month.
We did. However, it had been weighing on me that I wanted to begin showing some of the combat that we were getting completed for Alpha 2. And rather than having a big grand reveal of all of the class kits and abilities
a lot.
And the combat changes that we've made, I want to segment up these updates into smaller chunks so that people have an opportunity to comment on specific aspects
they can change it.
Of the changes that we've made for combat. And the first and foremost one that made sense for us to do, which is probably the most foundationally core aspect of combat, is going to be the basic weapon attacks. And I wanted to showcase and focus on the changes that have been made with regards to the directional movement functionality, root motion versus split body, the ancillary components of combat that are animation, VFX, and audio, and just show that at a base weapon level. So we decided that for this month, what we're going to do is give you guys a look at those basic weapon functions. There's a couple of skills that are thrown in there from our weapon master class, but it's primarily focused on the feeling of that basic weapon combo attack, right? And I want to make sure that you content creators out there who make content for Ashes and kind of relay to your audiences the updates that we provide, that you contextualize this update in the appropriate manner, because of course our engaged audiences, they see this update, they've been watching our progress for a significant amount of time, and they can touch point A to B to C and see that progress. But unengaged audiences, they look at something and they don't necessarily always have the best context for active development and what is a work in progress.
That's exactly what happened.
Of course, and they will look at something and assume it's a final product. Now, as you know, this is not the final product. We always iterate. We continue to improve. There's a lot of stuff that still goes into making combat a good thing. And combat's a really touchy subject because you see weather effects and you see seasons, and those can look universally good. Or you see a character creator, you get the versatility and the functionality that's present there, the customization options. Those can be universally perceived as very good. Combat is a very different type of subject, right? There are a lot of different ways that combat can be portrayed in games. All of us have our own subjective view of what is good combat. Do we want super fast pace, very tactile, slower pace, tap targeting, all those types of things.
Elden Ring.
A realm of
Elden Ring.
Exactly. There's a realm
Elden
of
Ring
preference
paced
there.
combat.
But with that being said, we have taken feedback specifically from Alpha 1.
With some characters playing like Dark Souls 1.
Upon that feedback and present it in such a way with
warrior,
this video that gives you context for those basic weapon feelings, those
slow and hard,
foundational types of movement and pacings that exist. So keep that in mind when you content creators out there are kind of relaying this information to the audiences that might not be as familiar with the project. Let them know this is just to focus on the basic weapon attacks. It is focusing on that aspect of combat. We will unveil additional aspects of combat, being
talk about combat
ability
afterwards.
Systems, class rotations. We'll talk about the VFX pipeline and how that advances with with the ability system as well. Those are going to be additional beats that we hit leading up to the next few months that we'll showcase on these streams. But this first one,
this is the melee specific basic weapon attacks.
Yes, that's right. We'll show ranged, absolutely.
Okay,
exactly.
all right, let's see it.
So keep that in mind. I had a great time filming this yesterday.
Let's see what it. Let's see what it be.
Phenomenal job.
Let's see what it is.
If you do some comparisons between where we were last year and where we are today, there's a significant difference. So I hope you guys.
Taken your feedback from Alpha 1.
Absolutely.
You guys sent us a lot of great feedback. A lot of those things were things we already were thinking of adjusting and changing as well. So we hope that you see that culmination as we showcase this. And
bro, I'm getting nervous.
Showcase further along.
I'm getting nervous. Like they're talking about it so much. I'm like, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, man, is it going to be bad? Like, what are they prepping me for?
Update.
Absolutely. Very
all right,
excited,
all right, let's
guys.
go.
Enjoy.
Ready? All right, we'll see you on the flip side.
Here we go. What if it's just like this? Like RuneScape. All right, guys. Hope the combat's good. Yeah, I know. Let's see it. Alpha 2 basic melee weapon attack update.
Hello, everyone, and welcome
it's a big
to
sword. I like
another
it could be
live stream
longer.
Day for Ashes of Creation. Super excited to be with everybody today.
Right.
We have a pretty awesome showcase.
About
I think it's
the
something
races.
that the community has been asking
He was right.
for a little while. Actually, I think the last time we showcased some combat gameplay was a year ago.
That's a boat?
Roughly, almost.
Maybe.
But I am very excited to show you guys what we have in the works today. I have joining us with me today two of our extraordinary engineers, Adam and Keenan. How you guys doing?
Hello, Steven. Doing well. How are you?
I am doing very good, running around like a chicken with its head cut off, but otherwise very good.
He's a deer with his head cut off, apparently.
Keenan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you. This is your first stream, I believe, correct?
This is my first stream.
Very cool. Adam, you've been on a couple ones before this, yeah?
Yeah. It's good to be back.
Very cool. And then I also have joining us today.
I like the
one
colors.
Of our senior game designers.
I do.
Mr. Trad. How you doing, buddy?
I like how vibrant they
I'm
are.
doing great. I'm
the
glad to be back
saturation
on
is
stream.
a bit higher
Welcome
than
back.
average.
Very
I like
excited
that.
to show what you guys have been working on, what the team has been working on. I know I probably already said this on the stream, but I'm going to reiterate it here. That what you're about to see is not the final combat in Ashes. This is a portion of the combat systems. Obviously, a lot goes into making combat, right? From a visual effects perspective.
Oh man, please don't be bad. Please don't be bad. All right.
The design elements and how it synergizes with our class kits and ability systems. The balance of these things, the audio component, the UI. There's a lot that goes into making combat. For an MMORPG, and the combat you're going to see today is very focused on one component, actually two components.
Is that right?
The first of which is our basic melee weapon attacks.
Oh my god.
In addition to our floating text UI.
Is this how Final Fantasy fans
that
feel
in
watching
mind,
my stream?
That is the context of today's presentation. Previously, I had decided that I wanted to wait to showcase combat until, excuse me, until we had
okay, here we go.
pretty much everything done and ready to show.
Got myself a Pepsi.
As time grew, I decided what I wanted to do instead was showcase little portions of each component of the combat system, starting with the basic melee weapon attacks, and then we'll move into, in a later live stream, the ability systems and the class kits. And of course, we're not going to show every class kit and everything that's going to be in Alpha 2. We want some of that to be a surprise.
Guys, we got another video about Diablo Immortal.
We want to showcase the work that's been done.
Bro, can we believe how pay to win this is?
So that we get player feedback. And personally,
what do you mean there's a thread about me on LSF? What are they saying?
Amazing. I think it looks great. I'm super impressed continually by our team's talents, as I know a lot in the community are after having seen the character creator and
I can't believe this.
Weather systems.
Everybody's getting banned
systems.
On Reddit again.
There's a very high quality bar that we're setting ourselves up for with Ashes of Creation, and I think it is what the community wants. But it's great to have these touch points where we get your feedback. So focus today is going to be on basic melee weapon attacks. It's going to be on root motion versus split body, the types of agency that's provided to the player while also respecting the weightedness we want from certain weapon groups, and also talking about the UI element and showcasing floating text and the types of customization options that players are going to have. So keep that in mind. That's the context of today's presentation. And when you give the commentary, let's focus on what you like and what you think there could be improvements on from that perspective. So without further ado, we are in probably an area that you guys are familiar with. We saw this in the last biome yet again. You saw this in the last month's
Watch, he's gonna do like this.
But we are in an area that is known to harbor some scary things.
So What'd you think?
So I'm just going to start kind of walking down in this area. And Adam, Keenan, Trad, if you guys want to talk a little bit about
I'm getting so
how
nervous.
this process began all those months
Oh
ago
my
on
God.
defining good combat for Ashes of Creation.
It's just
Sure.
click the button.
I would say, it starts
Click
with,
the button.
all of the hundreds of thousands
Oh
of
my-
hours, cumulative hours of
Yes.
MMO
Dude.
we have under our belt, right?
Now I know how
A
you
lot of
guys
hours
feel.
of MMO gameplay under our belts collectively.
We just got to push a couple buttons and we're immediately like, oh, it feels good or it doesn't feel good.
It's funny, Keenan, actually, you say that. One of the I mean, you guys all know this because every one of you went through an interview with me, but one of the qualifying aspects of joining the team is what type of MMOs do you like to
Good.
play?
The interviews each individual person, by the way. Little small tidbit
Nice.
there matters a lot.
Yeah, so it starts there.
Some teams
and
don't
then
do that.
From there, we sort of do our research. We have to take a look at the state of the art, and then we
Hit him.
We study it. We
Hit him.
form hypotheses about what exactly
No,
it is
no.
that makes things feel
okay.
good or not feel good. And then we make those things in as controlled a manner as we
Okay.
can. And then we turn the knobs, we tweak things, we see what feels good, what doesn't feel good. We come up with some rules, some processes, and then
What do you guys
we put them
think?
to the test. And this is
I want to
what
see
comes
some
out.
more of them.
Yeah, it's a very iterative process, right? Like, none of these things are
Okay.
like you form your theory on paper and then you go and you make the thing and it
Oh,
comes out to
shit.
be exactly what you see.
that was
now.
badass.
Like, it starts out the
That
first
was
time
cool.
not super great, and then what we have to be able to do is
Oh, shit.
engineers and designers is identify what is not great about those things and then just continue to iterate on those things. And that's as long as you keep making it better each time, eventually you're
That
gonna
was
end up with
cool.
something good.
Yeah,
That
and
was-
for,
that was
this
cool?
exercise and finding
Okay.
what makes Ashes great specifically, we wanted to approach it from the ground up.
It's okay.
answering
Yeah, I think the
individual
whirlwind was
questions
cool.
about our hypotheses and what we
Okay,
think
all right.
is good, right? So we really focused on individual aspects that we think makes good combat and answered them one at a time in a very tight iterative process. And we ended up at something that we think feels really, really good.
Not too bad.
Yeah, just playing this, I am loving the
That's
hit
not too bad.
reacts, the visual effects, all the ancillary components that go
Yeah,
into
that's
making the combat.
really not
but,
too bad.
But more importantly, the pacing of this kind of heavier weapon group.
Yeah.
Also, as a side note,
Where's my soda?
outside of the combat, one of the things I've not necessarily liked about MMOs traditionally in the past is that, excuse me, every portion of land is covered by some type of monster, right? And it kind of gives you this weird feel. But here, like, this is a very dangerous area that we're in, the environment. And part of it gets communicated by the aspect of these rocks and like
There's
the
rock elementals.
specific types
Makes
of materials
sense.
that's represented here, but you don't know exactly where the threat lies per se, right? You kind of
really.
move up into an area, and if you move too far, you get the audio cue of the monsters
That is
like
cool.
arising. Your character gets into
Yeah.
the combat stance. They have some really cool
gonna do the
aspects
slam again?
of animation. The animation team
they're
did
rolly
an amazing
boys?
job with the rolls here. I am loving, and also they're like just like swinging away and then flying
That
off.
is
That
cool.
is so great.
That
I
actually
really
looks
like
good.
The camp feel of this area where
They're
you just
rolly
see
boys,
these guys
yeah.
scattered around all over the world. No matter where you go, there's like something that's gonna.
All
aggravate
right.
you. It's more like I'm gonna grind here for a bit.
Bro, like I was getting anxiety
Yeah,
for nothing.
Steven,
This actually was good.
You were talking about how you like how heavy the sword feels, and that weight impact, that is one of the combat pillars that we have been studying and honing in on in our
Fucking get
development
the ass.
process. The other side of it is
It's just
the
the
other
same
side of
thing.
it being also like agency. To what
Swing it?
extent does
Yeah,
this weapon
right.
respect your intentions? And that's the part that's important to me. I'm a classic player. I come from traditional MMOs, right? Like I
Classic
want to
Andy.
be able to move and attack at the same time.
Imagine that.
Yes, and that was a huge point of feedback actually that we received during Alpha 1, was that we started with this more root motion approach to the basic weapon attacks.
Yeah.
And ultimately we called an audible mid-test I remember it was in that end of July or beginning of August month. Where we decided to implement a completely split body approach and get player feedback. And of course, the feedback was very positive, resoundingly positive, right? That players prefer that agency over that weightedness, but they also,
am I good?
There's a little bit of a conflict there because they also didn't like the floaty feeling, which comes along with not having
Blizzard
the weighted
DDoSing
approach. So how did that play into your guys's defining this current approach on the weapon attacks? How did you blend those two?
That looks good.
Yeah, so we kind of approached it from looking at player agency primarily, as Keenan had said, and the games that really handled player agency the best are those like classic MMOs, right? Players really like how smooth the classic MMO feel, how much player agency they get out of it, and then we took that and we tried building this sort of impact and weight.
The whirlwind, man.
Really making attacks feel satisfying, making it feel like the inertia of the weapon and your movements are accurate, physically accurate. And we accomplished that through a number of ways. Really, again, talking about the process, we tried identifying each individual aspect of what we got out of these, more modern action games.
You hit them and they blow up like that.
That into our classic MMO base. I think
this is cool.
I think it all comes down to looking at it not as a binary of, are we doing split body or are we doing root motion combat? It's looking at everything as modular pieces and then dialing in those numbers to make something that feels high in player agency, feels very impactful, like it has a lot of inertia, it feels very physical.
Yeah,
my litmus test for agency in combat is take any moment in combat, pause time, look down at your hands, look at the keyboard. The buttons that you're pressing should be the directions that your character is moving.
Oh, shit.
So with these weapons, even though there are little...
Those are the daggers.
Like little bits of root motion here or there, they're always respecting your WASD input, and I think that's what makes them feel good.
I think another thing
I want to see that.
You guys did that helps with that is the timing of which that gets registered, right? Like, it's not, at 1.1 iteration we had it where it detected what your input was at the beginning of the attack, and that just felt like if I decided to change my mind and go left instead of right in the middle of that attack, it's too bad. It already kind of queued that. And so I think now what you guys are doing is having it happen at like swing time, right?
Okay.
It's constantly looking at your input and adjusting.
I get it. Yeah.
Now
all right.
I've equipped these daggers, this dual wielding, these dual daggers. Talk to me a little bit about the differences between
let's see the daggers.
Heavier weapon group and the light weapon group.
Yeah, so initially in our investigation, we wanted to start with the light weapons to figure out how to really blend the weight of an attack and
it's not too bad.
Introduce or start with player agency and then introduce that weight of the attack into it.
Holy
we
shit.
figured the least risky weapon to start with would be the lightest weapon possible.
Makes
little
sense.
daggers that move very fast, very high player agency, and not necessarily focused on
dude, the combat is
weight,
fucking
much
fast.
like a heavy sword. So
holy shit.
We started with that and tried introducing little bits and pieces
I
here
think
and there, like small bits of root motion.
The animations are a little choppy.
You're right. When you're attacking and play into that inertia.
100%.
I know Keenan might want to talk more about the animation.
Yeah, this is really good though.
Introduced for figuring out these.
This is really
timings
promising.
That feel good.
Yeah, that's part of our process for communicating cross-department is using frame timing diagrams and being specific about how we not only want to animate, but also how we want to move during different frames of the animation. And we found that to be very successful. But one of the things that makes the daggers
they have like an ability where they throw rocks.
The sword is that the daggers never really slow you down. They're both respecting your directions, but the swords will actually slow you down at certain times. Like leading up into the strike, your split body movement is sort of blending down towards 0, and then you strike, and then it blends back up toward to 1. The daggers are not doing any blending like that. You're just split body, and then you're striking, and then you're back into split body.
No collision.
Like
I think they have mob collision. I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah, I'm just playing with the directionals here. I mean, on the animation team, they did a phenomenal job. I'm loving the kind of foot placement and movement, the strafing feeling on the body there. I know Alexi did a lot of work on the IK as well, that we can see, like when you're, you know, kind of stepping up different portions. It feels really good to play.
Oh yeah, considering how physically based we are and animation driven our combat system is, it was super important that the animators, you know, get all of that right, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. I mean, one of the biggest things I think to making good feeling attacks is getting all of the departments involved in what feels good and on the same
down
page,
slash
right?
feels that
everyone iterating.
That's
good.
You know,
like in the process, we started with chopping up animations to build an ability that we thought felt good, and then we wanted to pass that off.
That's
to
massive progress. Like I played the first
those
one.
animations by chopping up our abilities and making animations that feel good, and then we can all loop everyone back together and finalize that ability. You know, VFX has the same process too. So, you know, it's a bunch of different departments iterating on a very micro scale to build something that is just awesome.
It's a hammer.
Yeah, the animation team definitely had to take a deep breath when we went to them like, hey, you know those 3-part weapon combos that we like so much?
Cut the ship down.
We want different ones for each direction that you can move in. Oh, and also you need to be able to weave between the directionals at any time.
Can we? Yeah, can you jump attack? Yeah, are we able to jump R2?
One of the things that's
with 2
interesting and is always a point of contention for those of us who have perhaps played different games and have become accustomed to specific.
There's the bow.
Visual representation of these damage floating text,
man.
right?
He's gonna whirlwind them?
Showcase a little bit. I'm gonna let them hit on me for a little bit, just so you can kind of see. Directionally, damage you take, which is indicated in this red number, floats towards your left-hand side. And when you do damage to a target, they float to your right-hand side.
That makes sense.
Now, one of the very important aspects of these floating texts is providing the player with customization options that they can adjust the size of the floating text. They can adjust the color composition on how these texts are represented. They can also include damage icons to indicate the ability that's used for those floating text. And importantly,
there it is.
Excuse me.
You get a crit. It's like a whole screen.
The crits that you do in a separate way, how they pop in, they're slightly above those, the other numbers. And then more so, we also have additional functionality for cumulative damage value. So I'm going to kind of go through that. You'll see here as I press, you know, different option, now we've changed the colors.
I think that feels good, man.
Hold on, let me see, make sure. Is that color?
Yeah, that seems good, man.
Do I not have my...
One thing I noticed is like the mobs don't stagger.
Is it?
Like in New World, mobs stagger. In Lost Ark, mobs stagger. These don't. Performance looks horrible. Yeah. Usually that's not something that gets fixed until later. That's my understanding.
Well, we can show that a little.
I could be wrong about that though.
Let me press this button. Oh, here we go. Okay, so you see the color is changing now, and that's something that the player has agency over.
The player,
assign different types of colors that you want. That was changing. I think the one I was pressing actually was changing the size. So let me try to change that size again. There you go. You can see that size now is larger. You can showcase XP if you want. You can bolden the numbers a little bit as well. But providing kind of maximum flexibility and character customization, player customization options for these floating text, I think is super important. But I love the way that they feel.
Yeah, WoW has that too. You can customize shit.
Very almost.
That's good.
What were we saying, Keenan? Very vanilla vibe.
I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, sometimes the best flavor is just vanilla.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah, but the UI team's done a great job on the functionality for that. I think it's feeling pretty good.
I generally agree. I like vanilla and cookies.
Yeah, that's very cool. So,
and coffee
where are we now when it comes to kind of the spectrum of light to heavy attack options on these basic weapon attacks? What's kind of next for this as we showcase it to the players?
Okay, yeah.
Well, I think we've sort of defined our spectrum with the light and the heavy when it comes to agency versus weight versus impact.
Yeah, bigger weapons should lock you into an animation.
We're close to 100%. Saying that this is sort of the most we want to compromise agency for weight and impact.
Yeah, that's
smart. And once we
have
that upper bound, we can sort of play with all of the different intermediate points, right, as we start to build out other weapons. But we have interesting explorations as well in how all of this translates into ranged and also ultimates. We might take the limiters off for ultimates and just see what the coolest things we can make are.
That'd be cool.
That's going to be pretty interesting. Another component, by the way, of defining kind of this weapon attacks is also the visual effects side, and weapon trailings, the intensity of those weapon trailings, how they scale based on the type of weapon, the level of weapon that you have, but not just the trailing on the weapon per se, but also the ground decals. Like for this heavy weapon, that first strike, you see that decal in the ground is, I love that look. Yeah. And even on the backswing, like when I hit the ground behind me, it's causing that decal.
That's good. This is actually looking
down
good.
Into the really low-level systems details, like we
for unfinished alpha. This is really good.
As much information as we can about actual combat ongoings, so that they can inform the effects as precisely as they can, or as precisely as they need to, rather.
Yeah, and we really wanted to build on a technical side. We really wanted to build the combat system to, like I said earlier, be as physical as possible. So we have it very animation driven. Everything is handled based on a reference of animation as opposed to like nebulous timings, right? Which allows it to feel very impactful and very responsive. So when you hit the ground decal actually appears on the ground when it should. That's something that may not be seen in other MMOs, so we really wanted to make a big focus on that and focus on the responsiveness.
Yeah, that's really cool.
One thing I failed to mention, by the way, I apologize for that, is actually you guys are seeing the Pyre male for the first time in game. I know we've showed him.
I can't believe he was right about this, man.
As these character races get further fleshed out, but here you're seeing him in full
Narc
flesh
was
and
right.
blood, so to speak.
There you fucking go.
Blood, I guess. In the game, and that's pretty cool to see. I can't wait for players to kind of get a look at the customization options and the character creator for this race. Also, another thing that's really important, I think, is the audio component, and Cat has done a phenomenal job in both the sound design for creatures.
I think the audio is good.
The weapon, and actually, you guys haven't seen anything yet because
I'll have to see more of it.
In store on that front that I think is going to be pretty
do
cool.
Yeah,
and it's all part
this
of
looks
the presentation,
good,
right? It's all part of what makes combat feel good. Is also the auditory component.
Yeah.
In that,
like
talk
mining
to me a little bit
in New
about
World.
The capabilities that the audio team has when it comes to accessing combat and the abilities.
Yeah, similar to VFX, we plan on piping in a lot of information. That's something we've been working a lot on recently, is tooling for VFX and sound effects, right? It's a super important part, as you said, of the package in order to sell that weight and that immersion in the game. And there's going to be a lot coming online, so I'm really excited to see what we have in store for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever show it on stream, but we're building a sort of singular tool that all of the teams can use to build abilities and tweak them. Sound effects, visual effects, animation,
that's cool.
Design, engineering, all using the same tool, grounded in animation, to build these abilities.
For this being a fantasy game,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna play a human male Adam, with a two-handed sword.
You guys worked on his camera controls.
I'm so excited,
and
man.
Adding,
talk
to me a little bit about.
It's gonna be fucking crazy.
The kind of
this shit's gonna be wild, man.
Additional camera controls for abilities and combat.
Yeah, so I mean, the word of the day has been impact and weight, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that is sold through what the player sees. You know, we didn't want anything to be nauseating or over the top, and you know, certainly people can adjust it in option settings.
That's important.
But we wanted something that would sell a lot of the weight without, you know, being too over the top and too sort of cartoonish, right? And so we implemented a few different camera effects, you know, things like camera shake, radio blur, and a few other things involved, and really tried to
the win that comes out of that's cool.
You know, our bang for the buck with those to sell the weight of these attacks, and it really adds a lot. Especially, I've noticed a lot of how your peripheral interprets the weight of the attack really sells it for me as a player. So that's something we've been focusing on, and it's made huge improvements to the feeling of these attacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So, looking forward, as we continue to flesh out both the medium melee weapons, and we'll be showcasing our ranged weapons in combat.
Wait, that was
in
medium?
A future stream. We're also going to be talking a little bit about and showcasing which you guys got a little sneak peek on a few abilities, some class kits.
What about the heavy
ability systems as a whole?
What about the heavy weapons, the big weapons?
We're able to accomplish for Alpha 2.
Yeah, ultra great swords.
You know, we promised at the beginning of this year that you guys would be
getting
some pretty exciting showcases of all the work that's being done on the project towards Alpha 2. You got that with the character creator, you got that with the seasons and weather systems. Now you're starting to get a little bit of touch on the combat side. And I know that there's a lot of stuff that design has been prepping around, you know, the work that's been done on these class kits and the different archetypes that are going to be playable across Alpha 2. But there's a lot in store, and there's a lot of functionality that the engineering team has provided our designers when it comes to both the functionality of certain types of abilities as well as the synergies possible between them. You want to talk a little bit, Adam, Keenan, and Trad, about what's possible given our ability toolkit?
I took a piss, guys. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Definitely.
Man. Yeah, that was badass.
So this whole, you know, prototype process has been kind of, you know, two steps. One of those steps was what, you know, Adam and Keenan were talking about a bit there with, you know, their hypotheses on, you know, what makes good feeling combat, and they've done a great job on that. But the other side of that was also just, you know, coming up with these almost mock class kits. And, you know, the idea was this might not be the final class, but there will be things that we can take from it that we like and then get rid of that we don't like, and let's just make something. And you guys have kind of seen some sneak peeks of that already from the Assassin and you know, previous stream, and now you're seeing something from the Weapon Master. That was the other one that we took just to experiment with and contrast these different types of combat. And what I was kind of going for here was, you know, getting class synergies in place where, you know, maybe, you know, for example, you've got a thing that if you kill someone with one of your other abilities, it'll reset the cooldown on one of these abilities. And there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on in this kit, whereas there wasn't so much of that interaction in the kits and, you know, the previous alpha. It was an area that we felt we could really improve. And the good thing about that whole exercise that we did is we came up with a lot of cool abilities. You're not seeing them all here, but
sorry, that was me.
You know, what it really
Mr. Badass Upswing. Maybe you'll do it again.
We realized, oh, we can't do this or we can't do that. And so, like, the designers and Adam and Keenan here would kind of go back and forth and say, like, you know, designers need to be able to do this particular thing that we can't currently do, and then they would take that and they would make it possible with the tools. So we're really putting our best foot forward here. That we are going into, like, the full class design. We're going to have a lot of stuff that we need to get the ground running.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Keenan.
Oh, I was just going to sort of build on Trad's point. Like, all of these exercises, or throughout all of these exercises, we're very careful.
He got one of them.
On the ability system side to make sure that when we're adding something new, we make it as modular as possible. We really want to think of these abilities as being made out of, like, Lego pieces, not being sort of, like, molded from a single block of clay. So whenever we are trying something and we build something new, that's a new piece that we have to explore and combine with all of the other pieces that we've already made.
Absolutely. The other thing that's important is important probably for players to understand with regards to Alpha 2 is that this is another testing ground, right? Alpha 2 is a test, and in Alpha 2 we're going to represent components of the class kits and the ability system that may not make it to launch, but it is a perfect area for us to kind of get both player feedback as well as for us to log data around its usage, its impact, its feasibility as essentially a component of our class kits, right? We're going to be experimenting a lot with regards to that for Alpha 2. So it's very exciting.
Oh, definitely. We're just getting started.
Yes, absolutely. Well, guys, this has been a fun stream. I think
I'm impressed.
I really enjoy.
I'm going to be honest. I'm impressed.
And showcasing the hard work
I think this looks good.
Everybody on the team is doing across.
What do you guys think?
That makes combat a fun.
Yeah, we want to do a poll.
Thing for
yeah,
us
how
to
do you
play
guys
with.
feel about this?
There's a lot that goes into it, but I think the team is hitting it out of the park with these showcases.
God
as
damn!
We show,
I wish you just walk around the world.
Is for
That's what I want to do.
Ashes of Creation.
It's very promising.
So I want to thank everybody for tuning in
great.
and watching. Please make sure it's very important that you guys give feedback.
They have more shit after this, apparently, too.
Today. It is always something that we are iterating upon, but generally based on what feedback we already received out of Alpha 1 and the pursuits that our engineering side as well as our design side have been examining and playing around with. We feel really confident in this approach for the basic weapon melee attacks. But
this looks
we want
really
to hear
good.
your guys' feedback, what you thought of today. So make sure to comment both in the YouTube section as well as on stream, on our forums, on our Discord, Connect Everywhere. We value your feedback very much. It is an important part of creating Ashes of Creation. And remember, this is a work in progress. This is something that we are still expanding upon, something that we are still improving. It is never truly finished, but of course it is getting close to Alpha 2 ready. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Adam, Keenan, Trad, thank you guys for being a part of it. Always appreciate the insight and the talents that you guys bring to Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, I think this is really good.
We're very happy to have you guys. So
I'm genuinely impressed by this.
Give hearts.
Sorry,
for
promising.
Our awesome guest today, and I will see.
I'm
you
very,
guys
very
back on
surprised.
stream.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, this is good.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
We have ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, so to speak. But I feel like from reading the chat, I do have some questions that you all
I'm curious to see what this is going to be.
It seems overwhelmingly like most of you like it. There is a little feedback here and there. And if you have feedback for us, I believe right now, if Vaknar is following along, we will have a basic weapon attack combo feedback thread posted to our forums.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of comment real quick. So the biggest takeaway that you can ask yourself
what is this?
After watching that, if you're a member of our core audience who's been following development for the last few years.
It's been about a year and a half for me.
Is the direction and the improvements that you've seen here the right direction? Is that
what do you guys
positive
think?
Growth from what you have seen last year?
I see an overwhelming
versus to where you
it's an
are
obvious
seeing
yes.
it now.
It is an obvious yes.
The answer that you give.
Yeah, it's an obvious fucking yes. It'll only be 10 more years until it's ready.
Perspective is that it will continue to get better on that path. And the reason for that is we are taking our time when it comes to the quality of this game. And what that means is the additional bells and whistles, the more polished look of animations and visual effects. And as we expand on this idea of combat with class rotations, all this stuff is going to get
what the fuck?
Is going to come
there we go.
together
Okay, good.
Into a very tactile, kinetic style of combat. And that's our goal, right? And this gives you a look
big word.
At what that directional change has been. And if you like that directional change, realize we're not even in Alpha 2 yet, and this is where the combat's at. So by the time we're close to launch, you got to project out what that expectation's going to be.
That's really good, man.
Games take time. to make.
I feel like this is promising.
Especially good games. Yes, especially good games. Look,
this is actually promising.
Out the door, right?
Fuck yeah.
And
absolutely,
I'm not talking
man.
negatively about like other game companies.
You guys are falling in the hype trap.
Publishers or whatever.
What's wrong with
that? The truth
that?
of the matter is
what's wrong with getting excited about something
that projects have?
Yeah.
And whether something is finished or not, sometimes that deadline doesn't move. And that can result in the experiences that we've shared as a MMORPG community in other games. The benefit or the luxury, I would say, the luxury that we have on Ashes of Creation is our goal is to create something and not ship it until it's ready. And you as a community are part of the litmus test in determining when something is ready, because our process is transparent. We're showing you monthly updates. So your feedback on something, whether or not it looks good or it feels good, is this ready to be launched into an Alpha 2 or to launch totally? That's something that is a question that gets asked to you guys, right? And to us. And I think that's the important reciprocal relationship that we as developers have with the community.
I would say
and that's why we ask for your feedback. That's
because
why
like you have to have people play it to see what it's really like.
On forums, on Reddit, on whatever, right? That is a very important
It's one thing to see it,
and it's something I think that
it's
is
another
not
to play
to Intrepid, but it is something that is not done overwhelmingly across a lot of projects.
It's sure
so
not.
we want to capitalize that as much as possible, and that's why the decision to release small chunks of the combat changes that have been presented and do it earlier was a good one to make, and I'm glad to see the response in the community. I think
we were nervous, but I think at the same time we're nervous every time.
I would be too.
You know, we always
I would have been absolutely
what we
it's
show.
our baby.
But at the same time, we know it's a work in progress.
I would have been nervous as fuck.
Understand
because like it's so important.
Sharing our journey. But there were some questions in chat. I would like to try to get to some of those. We do have a Q&A as well.
Okay, let's see what they're saying
from previous questions that were already pulled. But
he's addressing the issue right now. Yeah, exactly.
That people were asking whilst watching, and
have
the video playing in the background
improved.
as well. So Just Fine wanted to know, can you have Steven clarify what they meant by this is the upper bound for agency versus weight? Does that mean they want to go more heavy than this, or does it mean there is some room?
It's like animation locks, right?
Well, there's always room for improvement. As I said, it's a work in progress, so we're going to be improving on those things.
Of course.
However, what's meant by the upper range of agency is there is a balance between player motion and agency, as we call it, right? And weapon weightedness. That
it feels like you're swinging a big dick sword.
Rooted position. The heavier the weapon is, the more restrictions you want to place on that player agency.
But it does more damage
to showcase the rooted
very important factor,
that weight, that heavy weight kind of aspect. And so what we've done by presenting you guys with both the dual daggers and the two-handed weapon is we've kind of shown the range between that complete player agency in the light weapon attacks, that's the dual daggers, and the maximum range of rootedness or weightedness that's present on the two-handed weapon. And that's the spectrum in which our basic melee combat will exist within. So if there are medium weapon groups that exist in between there, it's going to be somewhere in between that spectrum.
All right. And then these next two questions are both in regards to UI, and I already know the answer, so that's why I'm mixing them together.
Okay.
One is in regards to, and this was a lot of people, so I didn't quote a specific person. There was a lot of people asking about this.
All right.
But can they change the color of the text, of the floating text, etc., customize it in any way, like pick which color they want for crits, etc.? And then Snooky X, or Snucky S, will there be any HP indicators and things of that sort? Because they didn't see that in this.
Just real quick. So when it comes to UI, we have a very talented UI team, by the way, in love with all the work that they've been doing so far. And we are
I'd like
all
to
in
see more of the
that
UI.
Player customization options are paramount when it comes to UI.
But no add-ons. I don't think they should have add-ons.
It is a very subjective thing that we've all
they should just make the UI
our
better.
own flavors we like out of certain components of the UI. And so instead of trying to force down the throat of our players a specific approach to UI, why do that when we can develop options and customization that the players can influence themselves?
That's good. That's what Final Fantasy
color
has.
Compositions. It includes text sizes, it includes bolded, it includes options of which informations you're choosing to display.
Around,
it's a lot of customization
absolutely.
options.
Like that is our approach from UI's perspective, 100%.
Yeah, and as a content creator myself, being able to customize the UI to match my overlays and things like that will be amazing, and I've appreciated that in other games. So we're definitely keeping those things in mind for y'all. This next question, there's actually two parts to it. One is from one person, one from the other, but they kind of tie in about the same topic. So this is from The Shiniest Bubble wants to know, I wonder how much moving the camera/targeter affects hitboxes.
Yeah,
it seems like
that's a good point.
Might be moving the hitbox during the attack. And then Mass7 wants to know, you should not be able to move that fast while swinging. That's their kind of perspective of it. So those all kind of tie in.
Well, it's important to note that there's a balance in the game design between your movement speed on attack and the movement speed of your opponent.
Oh God, I love it.
Game that is both PvE centric as well as PvP centric. You have to make sure that combat is blended for both approaches.
It's hard to do that.
And we can always run into problems where if you're significantly hampered in your movement speed, that has an effect on how we expect player versus player engagements to interact. And we don't want to restrict a player's ability to be mobile if they're the target.
Let people move.
And as a result of that, we need to make sure that we don't restrict the movement abilities of the player who is doing the attacking as well. So we want it to be relatively free form, you to stay with each other, your opponents, move around the battlefield together. And
this will take
hampering
testing
you
too.
On the attack action, we have to then implement some type of snare or slow or CC effect essentially on your opposing target.
Yeah, it'll take a lot of testing.
That's not the approach we want to take for PvP.
Ooh. This kind of is like a segue from that, which is from Hadukai and Elit, and they both want to know, will we have some avoidable attacks? Is there any chance for weaving or animation canceling?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there are intended dodges and gap closers and mitigating increased mitigation effects for incoming damage.
That's good.
That are situationally reactively relevant, right?
As long as it doesn't become degenerate.
An animation wind up, that's a telegraph on what's coming, and then you have response actions that you can take as a result of that in order to dodge, weave, move, do whatever. Right? It is both a combination of what your rotation is, but also how you have reaction abilities ready to go that you save for certain circumstances that are important.
Yeah, being able to animation cancel, I think, is super important.
The next one here is from Volkath, and they want to know, what about camera? How far we'll be able to zoom out? What will be like the min-max
That's a good question.
Zooming in and zooming out? I don't know if you have
probably like can't really give you an answer.
Well, I mean, I personally tend to be a fan of having maximum zoom capabilities, right? I want to be able to see what's going on around me. That's my experience as a raid leader, as a shot caller, as a guild leader. I kind of want to have the perspective of the battlefield. And I know a lot of other players like that too. So again, leaning into the player option side here,
give people the option to do it.
Significant distance on the zoom is something we're going to be going for, and you can kind of see that as I zoom out in different sections of this combat. It's pretty high up. So
Stephen does like to be zoomed out really far, and we've gotten a lot of feedback that's like, don't zoom out that far. So it's a mixed bag.
It's another subjective thing, but
it's preference.
Whenever you have that preferential or that subjective aspect, give them the option. Give the players the option. Let them choose if they want to be zoomed out, very far.
That's smart.
Or if they want to be close in. I mean,
almost always it's better for more options.
Some type of mod that you can install that gives you a higher zoom distance. And I'm just thinking to myself,
who could imagine that?
Have to have the mod? Why can't I just have this choice?
Yeah,
and that was
just a mod that does it for you.
We don't allow mods, but
damn, that'd be dumb.
Customization that you want, please send us that feedback, as we want to implement those things.
Remember that add-on?
Want them to be native.
You guys had that one too? I did.
Absolutely.
Customize them. So the next question here is from Shoximity, and they would like to know, will different races have different animation for combat? Sorry, Myers.
I think they probably will have
what
to.
we try to do in order to
an extent, though,
limit. Excuse me. There's a lot of stuff to make in an MMO. So I don't know. I've often said.
But it's harder for people to read every animation.
Making games is
every
hard.
race is different.
An MMORPG is probably the most difficult type of game you can make, and our MMORPG is a particularly ambitious one. When it comes to assets, when it comes to animations, we have to author. We want to save as much as we can in certain places while also keeping the level of quality that we want to hit. So one of the ways we do that from an animation perspective is we're not going to be having, I think, unique combat animations. However, we will have unique non-combat animations.
That's
such
probably
as your
a good
idle,
idea.
Your walk, your run cycle,
for uniformity through
PvP.
Attacks
do not
so
have
you
to
know how
blend
to
back
react.
Into, right? Those combat
That's
attacks,
probably a good idea.
Animation-wise, blend back into the combat idle stance, and then when you're out of that combat idle stance into a non-combat idle stance, that's when you take the unique poses or the unique walk and run cycle, just to give it character flavor for what the specific race you're playing is. And that's how we mitigate the bloat that would come if we had to make all of our combat animations blend back into the combat idle stance.
I think that has to be that. That's good.
One of those swings is they have to make so many different animations just for that one swing because of all the options that you could choose. Go left, right, straight, backwards. It's not just one animation that they make for one swing. It's a lot of transitions that they have to make from just that one swing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense.
We would be here forever if we answered everyone's questions. So I'm going to ask this last one, and then we're going to transition because we still have more stuff to show you all.
Oh my God!
So
okay,
first,
all right, let's see
this
it.
last one is from How to Lose, and I know you asked a very big question, but I'm going to.
That's a lot of stuff. Okay, all right, but wait, there's more.
That we had stated that we were going to allow people to use any class combination, which would be both your archetypes together, being able to use any weapon. Do we see problems that could occur with that? For instance, like a bow tank or an orb tank or things like, will there be some strangeness there, or are there problems that you are foreseeing in the future?
Is the question, do I foresee problems or strangeness from allowing player characters to choose the types of weapons?
Well, it's more, will there be any functions to discourage people from using certain combinations, or will
we're giving a lot of we're giving a lot of flexibility to the crafters in our game. They get to help define the stat block that a particular item, weapon, or gear has, and that stat block can be relevant to any particular class or
a bow tank,
or archetype combination. So in that sense, the idea is not to see any strangeness there, or not to see any elements that would dissuade a person from that customization perspective.
Okay.
So we'll let you know if things change from there.
It's probably smart to do that.
We do have a feedback thread up. If you have any thoughts, which from the chat it seems like y'all have a lot of thoughts.
Because you don't want to have
forums.com,
a million variables. That's why WoW can never develop the game. They never work on the game. They're constantly balancing it.
They have a spike in traffic.
And toss us your feedback. It's in the general.
There's too many variables
for this live stream. So we would love for your thoughts, and we will consolidate those for our design team.
Bow tank
stance. And with that, we shall move on to some really cool stuff.
Okay.
Which is our character art team's goodness, and you're going to go straight into seeing the Dreadcrawler.
He's got
which was done by Danny.
Oh my God!
This is one of our burrower demons, and it's super cool.
That is cool.
It is very cool. So this guy is a boss that you'll be seeing in Alpha 2. He lives in the desert biome.
That's cool. What do y'all think about that?
Story is during the fall, and I guess I won't expand too much on it, but during the fall, he was essentially a war machine. He was used by the ancients to help defeat certain cities in the world.
He's like a siege machine.
He did so by both burrowing under those cities and coming out from the ground from within, causing chaos while the outside forces would attack that
People
city.
did that in real life.
He could be used as a war machine to just demolish the walls and break through for those ancient legions to make their way in.
I like that,
All right, well, you get a little lore too.
Yeah.
A little snack.
Yeah, holy shit.
Oh, we have a little turntable of him as
well.
Lore
Justified, They put buckets of water
I love
to
the
catch vibrations from people tunneling underneath
on the top
cities.
Of his head. The
Back in the day,
that pops out, and his little projectile that he shoots.
Yeah, you can see it sticking out there. If you're wondering what that little piece is.
That is cool, man. I like that.
It is very, very neat. The little touches everyone puts on things. I mean, it goes back to like the passion that we have. Everyone is super passionate about their expertise in their field, and you just see that in the work that they put out. It's pretty amazing. Stephen has mantled together quite a group of people.
Yes, we have pulled together.
I like this. Yeah, this looks badass.
Very
Let me
talented
see.
people for sure.
Okay.
And this one is the Mantle of Radiant Grove. We
what do y'all
actually
think
have a
about
few
this?
different variants of this as well. Like we said, these are going to be used for NPCs, or you can see the weapons here as well.
I like the hilt on the weapon.
One of our developers was like, maybe we could make it so the NPC, based on the season, would change. The leaves would change color.
Oh, like the WoW Ancient. Yeah.
I think is cool.
That's a really cool
manifesting
idea.
that.
Holy shit, that's a great idea.
Or some of the leaves just fall off as you're running, and you just have like a little trickling of leaves
Make it
behind you.
happen. Sorry, Jim, your team. We're just gonna keep adding more things to your team.
They already have that effect for the trees. We could just
That's
apply it
true.
to the costume.
Well, I think you'd have to have it smaller amount. You don't want like
Well, like that would be
whole
badass if
tree
you had different
falling
colored
down.
Of course they
leaves for
adjust
the
it, but
different
that's a
seasons.
It's just a slider, Jim.
It is
That's
a
it.
slider.
And then next up we
love
have
sliders.
our Curse Charger. So this is kind of what
That's
I
a
wanted
dog.
to showcase. Is like this is the Curse Charger that you all have seen. This is a little touched up, better.
Okay.
They've been touching up all of the creatures, but here are the variants that you're seeing come from them. So looks quite.
I like
different.
that. It's got
If
leaves
you've
on his
watched a lot
back.
of our other streams or seen
Okay.
actually our in-game footage, you've probably seen a lot of variants as well.
Oh,
But I just wanted to
Simba.
kind of show that a little bit more for you guys, especially for the folks who don't maybe follow.
Look at that,
every
Cheeto.
every
Yeah.
little post that we put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
Jinsey
one a
has
lot.
done- Yeah,
That one
Jinsey
looked cool.
Took these and made them.
The green
even
one,
better, if
you
that's
know, whatever.
possible.
But
She's
this one was cool, and the other one,
and Eli
the
did
cheetah one was
Mantle
cool.
of the Radiant Grove.
Yes.
And last but not least, you did see the Pyre in game, but
Okay,
we
let's
have
see
some
it.
updated images. If you follow
get
us on
ready
social,
for some booties. Get ready for some booties.
if you follow us on social, so I tried to post these on Discord to our PI people, and it was not letting me because the
It was getting flagged for nudity.
it was getting flagged for nudity.
The fuck?
But yeah, they
Okay.
look amazing. We've taken a lot of your guys' feedback. We still have the branchlers, even though some people don't like them, but. You know, there are other races that you can choose from.
I
if
think
you
it
don't
can be
like
options.
branchlers.
Like you want to
And
give people
as we
options.
demonstrated, by the way, I know you guys are going to
Yeah,
be
you need to give
asking this
people options.
question.
Yeah,
We demonstrated in the
Okay.
character creator.
there are sliders.
We do have sliders. So it is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, dude.
And I'll show you.
Okay,
This will
dude.
prompt the slider question, I'm sure.
By the way,
This
not
is-
just one set of sliders. This is an equal opportunity sliders. Equal opportunity sliders. So let's be clear on that.
I wish I could like zoom in on your face when you said that.
Oh my god.
So we have taken.
Thank
feedback
God, guys.
And
Thank
we've made
God.
some adjustments, and of course,
Who gives a shit about
I
this
believe,
combat?
If you follow us on social, Stephen
No
actually
shit,
used
no way.
these
Yeah,
already,
a
and,
dick slider?
Vacnar
Yeah,
did
exactly.
update that thread, the Pyre thread, with the new images. So if you have any feedback on them, you can go over to that thread, and if we see a large amount of differences in the feedback,
Okay.
we'll definitely relay that over to our development team. But we've already sent them over
Yeah,
a report,
imagine a
and
slider,
that's
yeah.
why they've made the changes that they have made. And then this is the male
It's just-
version.
I was going to say, did we not have the male one?
Yeah,
I really like that.
just, you know.
That looks
going
good.
through
Equal
them.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity, Maggie.
Yeah, what do you guys think about this?
Well, sometimes we only show one over the other,
That's
and
true.
people always
That is
ask.
true.
Holy
I know.
shit.
And women's bodies tend to be very controversial, so we usually start with some, some of the male ones.
Controversial?
Yeah, people
Yeah.
have thoughts and feedback on how they should be, portrayed. So,
That's true.
but I think that we'll
I wanna
provide you guys
have,
with
like-
sliders that you can adjust based on the different races and
Yeah,
how far
like-
along those scales we want.
I think you should be able to
And if you
adjust
haven't seen
everything.
our
I don't
character
care.
creator, like if you're new to
Yeah, you should be able to do whatever the
Asmongold
fuck you
and
want,
this is your
man.
first stream that you're watching, oh my gosh, go to our YouTube channel.
chat, yeah.
Go search in the little search box character creator and go watch our character creator. Our team
It's
is
really good.
like that's
we
not
watched
even our
that.
character creator finished. So please go
No.
look at it. It is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I was like, they made me.
And then
And
we
so,
get to our
yeah,
Q&A.
see him with a big meaty
Wrap up
cock.
the stream.
Okay,
Actually,
man.
do you have any studio updates that you want to talk about?
Hiring is going great.
I bet.
Had, I think,
I'm not surprised at all about that.
I think we had almost 400 applicants last month, and we accepted, I think, 14 of them. So we are
good.
We are doing a great job
Holy
on that
shit.
front. Very excited
400,
with the
yeah,
talent that we have that's joining the team. We're continuing to grow.
Yeah.
So things are going really good on that front.
I think that's really, really good. Hiring 14 people is huge.
That will hop over to
3% acceptance rate.
If you're good with that, Stephen.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'll play the video in the background, so we have something to look at as we go through them. So our first question here is from North the Mage and Elwin Drill.
North the Mage.
They both wanted to know about naval mechanics. Are there any plans to have wind in sailing? And I know we've talked about
this like Valheim. Bro, that shit was so annoying.
Super depth with it.
Yes, there is wind.
Okay. How does it work?
Wind is an important component of the open sea, quote unquote open sea. So that's all non-coastal areas. And that open sea, based on the composition of wind and the open sea, will influence the speed directionally that a boat is traveling in. And how that speed gets influenced by the winds. That can be an important strategic component when discussing like timing for trade runs or timing for what your location is in relationship to your target out at the open sea. And it just creates a little bit more fluid and dynamic experience when you're at sea, that like you're not in this cove and you always know how you're going to interact with the open water and the speed that you have, so you can predict accurately what your intercept rate or distance will look like. If that is a variable and that variable changes, right, then you have to adapt your strategies for that variable. And I think that is a very healthy and keeps things fresh from a perspective of a cat and mouse game that usually occurs between ships in the open waters.
I'm excited for naval combat.
Yes.
It's going to be fun. Next up, we have Kiwi asking about gear customization.
Which, that is true. I never thought of that.
So,
absolutely,
with the most recent dev discussion going on, what were your plans so far with color and dye system and the color and dye system?
So one of the things that we want to do, again, talking about player agency, is we want to give them the ability to kind of change the appearance of their armor sets that they're wearing. And the way we've approached the dye solution is through a channeled system. We have a 2-channel dye system where the first channel is a lower grade dye that it has influence over between 10 to 20% of your overall armor appearance. And then the second channel dye is a higher tier dye that you have to acquire. And by doing so, you can influence the remaining 30%, up to 30% of that armor appearance. So up to a total of 50% influence that can occur across all the pieces that you wear. Now,
makes sense. Okay.
One unique approach to the way we're doing this dye system is we're not allowing individual dyes to be applied on individual items, but instead we keep a cohesion across the set by applying that dye channel to your character. And when you equip a piece with your overall character, it will assume that dye channel from your paper doll.
Okay.
So you apply the dyes to your character, and when you equip a piece of item,
I want to see this. I want to see what it's like.
And it will influence the channel over that particular
what does this really mean?
So that it comes into alignment. And the reason that we're doing that is there's a lot of options with regards to customization for your character appearance, whether it be through transmog, through costumes, through mixing and matching sets and pieces that you can wear, right? And what we want to avoid is the rainbow effect, where these pieces do not look good together, and it creates the clown that's walking down the street, and it's a bit comical to see the clown that's walking down the street.
Steven played New World.
Unified it through the dye channel.
You got Ronald McDonald in New World.
Paper doll.
All right, there's definitely some thoughts on that. So our next question is from Keegan, and they would like to know about freeholds. Do you expect most players who want a freehold to be able to get one, or will they be prestige symbols?
That's the housing in the game
of players.
That is a very good question.
Garrisons
I think the answer
or
is
Final
that if
Fantasy
a player
plots?
wants to achieve a freehold, they can achieve the freehold. However,
Okay, so
the
it's
amount
reasonable.
of effort, resources, and time that's required in order to achieve that freehold is a large amount.
It's like epic riding in classic WoW
for you to get that freehold. And the reason why is because
that's probably a good idea.
Tie in very heavily to the processing artisanship aspect. Some processing can be done in
nodes,
I'm
going to need everybody
but
to
the best
listen.
Processing is done on
we got to chip in,
and we want to make sure that there's
we got to put this money together, you know, make this happen
on the amount of effort that's necessary to achieve that influence over the processing market. And that means that it takes some time to achieve it. So ultimately, to answer that question, anybody who puts the effort in should be able to achieve a freehold.
That's good.
It is going to be a major achievement for that character.
Yeah, that's good. I think so.
And our next question is from Nixa and Phantom X, and they want to know about.
And by the way, I just want to make sure we're clear that a freehold is one of 3 types of houses, right, that you can own. So just because the freehold is very difficult to attain doesn't mean that you don't have a space for housing and furniture that you can achieve through our apartment system or an inn or the static in-node housing. Those are alternate methods as well, but they do not have that aspect of the best processing is done there. The best processing is done on the freehold.
And being able to customize the outside of what your freehold looks like. If you're
the static housing, apartment, you can customize the interior. But the static housing and nodes, they do have an outside area.
I wonder if you can use other people's crafting.
I was referring.
I'm curious about that. Yeah.
Thank you for
clarifying. Absolutely.
Play to win. Imagine
on the
that.
freehold, one thing that's unique is the blueprint system, right? Acquiring specific buildings that you can build ancillary to your home on the freehold as well.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
And the next question
is
regarding the weather system, which we showcased. Will there be flooding caused by heavy rains, snow melting, or storms with rivers rising and rougher waters on the ocean?
That was my question. I asked that last month.
Yeah, I think that
remember that
we haven't done any. Yeah,
last month.
But in the weather and seasonal systems, we have talked about the potential of including flooding as well. I mean, the arid or desert type climate system, that can be applied relatively with ease. The flooding can be a little bit more tricky from a tech art perspective.
That makes sense.
But it is something that we have discussed.
Like
having
a tornado.
Submerged areas that flex between seasons of being flooded, where it becomes an underwater environment, and having times where it is a non-water environment for dungeons. That is something that we haven't worked on yet, but we have talked about. Wouldn't be present in Alpha 2, but it's something we want to explore.
It would be very cool to
I
have
think
like
that's
that
good.
dynamic combat where like, ooh,
during
the winter,
I think that's
go
good.
there for this, and during the summer you want to go there for that.
Yeah.
And also on that side, we have shown how our tide system works too. So like,
the tides,
if you're interested in seeing that too. Yeah. And we have from
I thought you couldn't explain
that.
Know
about game settings. Will dense foliage be
I don't know how the fucking tide works.
Or will people turn them
Tide goes in, tide goes out. Can't explain that, boys.
Minimize PvP efficiency.
No idea.
Think hiding in bushes.
We will not allow. We will not allow players to
only God
to
knows
adjust the density of foliage actors in the world. That will be universal. So. It's going to be, of course, there are going to be areas that are more dense than others.
Does blue mean it's a weak attack?
It's meant to be
I wonder. That's how it is in New World.
That players can utilize for certain purposes, like hiding in for PvP. However, there will be collision with those foliage actors and the player capsules. So as you might see that bush moving and think, that's odd. That doesn't look like wind. There must be something there. And that's the kind of immersion that we want, right?
Yeah. And like when you're walking in the grass, if things move and you're like, what's going on over there?
Right.
That makes sense. Cool. Okay.
As a fellow PvPer, that'd be fun. Triel wants to know about weapons. Will equipping different weapons change your skill set? And if so, how will you balance that in regards to class identity, as in having character?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
As opposed to their class.
I am not a fan of, in MMORPGs, having equipment-based skill sets. I think that
hates
you
New
have
World.
Class-focused skill kits.
He hates New World.
And
Steven hates
class,
New
I know
World.
what you have
It's the
access to.
worst
I might
game.
not necessarily know what you've spec'd into.
There it
but
is.
I am sorry. I strongly dislike the idea of tying the skills into the weapon. I think it's unique. I think it's novel. It's just not for me necessarily. Our approach is not going to be providing skills through weapons. It's going to be providing skills through classes.
And then we have Hamlet, who wants to know about bugs and exploits. Are you guys open to server rollbacks in the event of an unforeseen bug or dupe that would introduce an economy-breaking amount of currency into the economy?
Server rollbacks are emergency scenarios. Are we open to taking emergency action if it's necessary?
You guys
yes,
know.
Of course, we're open to doing whatever's necessary to address unforeseen problems.
You guys know exactly.
But it should be a last ditch.
Where's
option.
the picture?
I was going to say that too. Like from my perspective, this is definitely my forte. You know, if we had something like that, we would remove the dupe. Anybody who exploited that, you know,
we'll have lots of tools
we would have
available
repercussions
to us
for those things. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can easily remove those, you know, those pieces of economy from the system.
There we go,
Not
boys.
just pieces, those people.
There we go.
Like I was saying, there will be repercussions for the exploiters, but I think sometimes
we got it right there, guys.
You don't know that it's happening, right? Like you're just like, oh, I accidentally did something.
That was quick.
I
Yeah.
accidentally found 50 legendary
I had it
items
ready
in my inventory. How did this get here? I have no clue.
If it
I
was
get 10
over and
million
over,
gold?
you know what you're doing. But if someone just did it once and was like, whoa,
It's common sense,
and
yeah.
reported it, we just remove it.
Oh,
right?
that's
Like, I think,
common
like,
sense.
I have
There's
10 billion
difference.
gold. How did this get into my inventory?
There's a difference in exploiting versus someone happenstancing upon something and reporting it.
Exactly.
So if you encounter something, please report it. That way there's no action on your account. Golid would like to know about caravans. Caravan attackers have only the reward of stealing the caravan goods without any risk currently planned according to the wiki. Since the game is about risk versus reward, what is the risk you plan to add for caravan attackers?
That's a good question.
Well,
that's a very good question.
I mean, there is a level of risk that comes with the attacker, right?
Yeah.
We have progression paths
that's
exist
smart
for bandits and that exists for defenders. And if you choose to opt into a caravan attack, you sign up for that attack, and you fail that attack, it is detrimental to your path of progression down the bandit area, right? That's one thing. Two is, you know, of course, you have gear decay. You have degradation that can be suffered if you die. That is a cost.
So you get punished if you
also
suck.
have a reputation. And if your reputation precedes you when you want to make movements of good and transit goods across the world, and you see somebody who's doing it and you want to participate as a defender or a participant, they might say, hey, screw you. You were just murdering my people last week, and I saw that you're like on the top of the bandit list for killing caravans.
Exactly.
So, you know, it has repercussions in the sense that it locks you out of certain player groups. It provides decay to your armor. It has deleterious effects on your progression in the attacking and the
PvP
bandit progression of caravan attacks or defense. So
non-consensual
there are
PvP is like one of the most important parts of making a game like this last.
Our next question is from Spyromancer, and they want to know about looting. If looting rights are based on a blended tag and damage done system, will there be any mechanics in place to ensure roles like tanks and healers have an equal shot even when they haven't dealt as much damage? That's
a very good question. That was an issue in New World.
I think that's the reason for the blended approach. The reason that excuse me.
That was a New World problem.
The reason that we're doing a hybrid system between tag and damage done is for the purposes of those classes who may not be as DPS oriented as other classes.
Exactly.
The tag system, you know, all classes are going to have a sprinkling of immediate effects of instantaneous casts.
Yeah, sure.
And they can use that to tag a target, and that'll give them a modifier on the looting right. So plus 10% or plus 15% will balance that, but it'll give them plus 10 to 15% on overall damage done if they tag the target, and then their damage will make up the remainder of that percentage.
Final Fantasy does this with threat.
So if I do 50% damage to a target, but someone else has the tag, I'm not going to be able to claim that looting right. They'll have done the other 50% plus 10 or 15.
Okay. And then our last question is from Lithion, and they would like to know about artisan gear. Will gear for artisans be strong enough for a player to defend against an equal level player who is in combat gear?
Gear for artisans. So we actually just had it.
Artisans.
We actually
it
just
depends
had
on how many
a
viewers they
conversation
have.
about the gear for artisans. The gear for artisans are going to live alongside your adventuring gear. So you will currently, the approach is, and we'll test this, but currently the approach is you'll have artisanship-oriented gear. This might be beneficial for your gathering, it might be beneficial for your processing or crafting or whatever it is, right? Your profession, essentially. You will craft that gear, you will equip that gear. It'll live almost as a undergarment slot, so to speak, and then you can activate that, and it will show the appearance, if you wish, during the activation when you gain the benefit from the gear itself.
Okay.
And then could disappear afterwards and go back to your adventuring gear. That's like the current approach. We're going to play with that a little bit. There's some discussion and disagreement on the team about how we do that.
Sure.
But our hopes are for Alpha 2, we will have, I think, a couple of sets at least. You know, we're demonstrating all
I want to see it, bro. I want to play this game.
From gathering to processing.
I'm ready to play
crafting,
the game, man.
In limited fashion in Alpha 2.
Let's go.
And we want to have that gear present to kind of play with this approach.
And then the flip side of this question, in case they meant it this way, if you had crafted gear versus gear that you attained through, like...
I thought they were talking about, like, profession gear.
I believe that is, but just in case that this is the other alternative way that they meant
there's
going
to be profession gear, like in New World.
How would crafting gear compare to, like...
What did you guys think of that? Did you guys like that or not?
Crafted gear in the game is the best gear.
Oh.
So I'm going to tell you one thing that I cannot, I'll be less inflammatory in my speech.
Please
one thing that I'm not a fan of is that you develop a crafting system in a game, right?
Yes.
And you've spent a lot of time making this from a material and resource perspective, all the tables that you
made
can receive, all
by a
the connectivity in the economy and how crafting is associated with the game. And then you undermine the crafting entirely by presenting a separate route of gear acquisition that is on par with the crafting efforts. So you have these people who are acquiring all of the resources, getting all the recipes, leveling up their professions, and then everything they make is less or equal to anything you could just have chosen the easier path of and gone down the questing and received the best gear. So what we do focus on is that crafters make the best shit. Excuse me, the best things. They make the best things.
Yeah.
All right.
And thank you very much.
There it is, boys.
I'm just messing.
So they make the best things. And the reason they make the best things is because the effort required to make those things is monumental.
And I bet the items come from the raids too.
Aspect of the whole gameplay loop.
Yeah, that's what they have to.
Awesome.
That's how it was in
I'm pretty
classic.
sure they meant it the first way, but I think having both answers
and
is
also
great
TBC
for the audience. And with that, we're going to wrap up our June update. We hope that you all have had an amazing
big dick update.
We definitely have on our end. We have so much more to share with you throughout the upcoming months.
That was a big dick
update. Hope that
update.
you will tune in next month for our July update. And,
holy shit.
Any other final things you want to mention, Stephen?
I just want to say at the end of last year, we promised you that this year would be a banger when it comes to the stuff that we showcased. Yeah. And I've been very proud of the quality that we've achieved in the showcase of the character creator, of the weather systems, of the combat direction. And I think there's a lot more great stuff in store for you guys. So I just want to reiterate, the most important thing is get registered on our forums, go comment, give us your feedback. The big question is, do you like the direction of today's update?
I do.
Is it a positive change? Is it better than
I would
where
say
it
yes.
was? Right?
Yes.
That is what's important. Give us your experiences. Give us
without
your
a question.
Do it on our forums or 100%. On our Reddit or on our YouTube, wherever you want to do it, wherever you feel most comfortable. But feel free to get engaged. That's the whole reason we do these updates, is because one, I mean, we love showing the work that we do, but two, we want to elicit that feedback. So that's the important aspect.
And right now there are quite a few threads up. There's a gear color customization, dev discussion, and our basic weapon melee attack combos. Both of those feedback threads are up. Please give us feedback on them. Also, just as a reminder, our opulent negotiations cosmetics will be swapped over on July 13th. So if you want to grab those by 11 a.m. And of course, thank you to everyone who tuned in live. If you're watching this on YouTube,
I think this was a really big update
as well. And
this was a big fucking update.
You all stay healthy and safe. And this video will be up on YouTube, as well as we will release the potentially the combat video as well. We'll be discussing.
Yeah, I think we'll do that.
My favorite part about this
it'll be in 4K, so you guys
was
can
some of the questions I think made
Steven
mad.
Gloriness.
Yes, and we will post
that's my favorite part.
As well.
Somebody asked some stupid shit, and you could tell he was a little bit irritated by it.
Head on over to our YouTube. Don't forget on the dev update.
That was so good.
And subscribe to our channel. Next month, you could be spotlighted as our lucky winner, and we might answer your question or talk about your comment. And with that, we hope to see you over on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord, Snapchat, whatever social platform you prefer.
Yeah.
We are there all the time. We are.
I don't think there's
going to
be an Ashes Creation OnlyFans.
So please come
got a pretty good
out
feeling.
with us and tell us all the things and your thoughts. And we will see you next
Do we
time.
have a? No, never mind. Sorry.
Should be chill.
All right. I'm like, what? Where's good?
Bye, everybody. Have an awesome weekend.
Never say never. Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Honestly, like, I think this was probably one of the best updates. This, like, as I said, I think like it was this update. This one, it's very hard to beat Unreal 5, right? Because that's what makes the game basically to a degree like future proof, right? So there's that. I'd say this is number 2. This is definitely number 2. But this is a big deal, man. Like, this is a big fucking deal. Like, yeah, I think it was good. Can you play Alpha 2? If I can stream it, I will play it. I don't want to play. The thing is, like, I don't want to play it because I want my experience with the game and, like, my first impressions with it to be what you guys see. Does that make sense? So, like, I don't want to, it's like, you know, people are like, oh, you pre-watched a video or something like that, right? I don't want to have it like one of those kinds of vibes. There's no NDA on Alpha 2. Well, then obviously I'd do it. I mean, like, that's all I'm saying. I'm not 100% sure yet. You can say, man, is anything? You can't say he's not passionate? Yeah, I mean, he's passionate about it, absolutely, man. I think that makes sense. No, straight up, I think this is one of the best ones they've done, man. This is really promising. You worry about balding before a game comes out? This is the main thing that people are worried about. People with this game, there is something that's referred to as, like, scope creep, where you have so many things added into the game and so many plans and ideas that it becomes functionally impossible to deliver on all of those things. And then you start cutting things, and that's whenever disappointment and, you know, what's the word for it? Like, opportunities and expectations go down. You see kind of what I'm saying? Yeah, Star Citizen. Is this going to be the medieval Star Citizen? I fucking hope not, man. That helmet looks badass. I like that a lot. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just, so no scope creep. Yeah, and so that's what my concern is, really. I think that's not even really what my concern is. That's what a lot of people's concern is. There's a lot of people that feel this way, is that I think the best way to describe the way that people feel about Ashes of Creation is it's too good to be true. There are too many good things that we've wanted in MMOs. This is probably not going to happen. And why do they think that? They think that because many other MMOs have come out and they have not delivered. Lost Ark came out. People thought it was going to be amazing. It was pay to win. I don't know why people didn't realize that, but they didn't realize that. New World comes out. They thought it was going to be amazing. It is what it is. Like World of Warcraft. I mean, fuck, it is what it is. So people are very, very jaded. They're very, very skeptical. And I think it's reasonable to feel that way. It is. It's reasonable to feel that way. And I don't think that's like anybody who is like, oh, this game's going to suck or whatever, right? It's like, yeah, you're probably overreacting a bit, right? Because, like, I mean, how the fuck do you know that? Like, nobody knows that. But I do think it's fair to say, like, you know, we want to see what the actual game is and what it's really like, and then play it and then see what it's for. Does that make sense, man? New World sucked. I played New World a lot, right? I played New World a lot. Like, I thought it was a good game, but yeah, there were a lot of things about it that sucked. Like, you're absolutely right. They fixed some of them. It's PTSD due to constant overpromising. it's PTSD for everything. Like, it's not just like one thing, it's a bunch of stuff. It's not limited to MMOs or RPGs. Every genre right now has had shitty releases, overhyped crap, and unfinished garbage. Yes, I agree with you. I think that's happened too much. Why does that happen? That happens because people forget that video games are there to make money. So whenever video games are there to make money, that's the goal. That is the driving force in the games themselves. That is the prime directive. And I think that this game, obviously, like, you know, they sell cosmetics and shit like that, but there's been no cosmetics or no store items that I've seen in Ashes of Creation so far that has been any degree of pay to win. There hasn't been like any, you know, oh, you buy like a, you know, like a lumberworking energy or crafting energy or an experience booster yet. And that is something, like, I don't think they're going to do this. I've got a good feeling they're not going to do this. I would bet on them not doing it. But would I bet like 100%? No, I would not. I think that it's more... It is more likely than not that these things will not happen. Subscription solves all of that. It's funny you mention that, because I used to think the same thing.